It's safe to say the 2020 NBA season has been unlike any other in its history. With the hiatus of the regular season due to COVID-19 and the presumption of play inside Orlando's unique Disneyland bubble, this NBA campaign has been filled with surprises. With everything that has transpired, the biggest shock of them all may be the premature elimination from the title favorite Los Angeles Clippers at the hands of the underdog Denver Nuggets. The Clippers and Nuggets met in the second round of the Western Conference playoffs, and after racing to a 3-1 lead in the series, the Clippers crumbled and fell apart. The Nuggets forced a Game 7 to decide who would face the Los Angeles Lakers in the conference finals, and in the biggest game of the season, the Clippers were embarrassed by the young and hungry Nuggets, who demolished them in emphatic fashion to advance. After being heavy title favorites all season long, their early exit as the most talented team on paper in the postseason was one of the most disappointing and puzzling events in recent memory. There is a long list of reasons as to why the Clippers failed, but none bigger than the poor play of their two stars Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. In Game 7, Leonard recorded just 14 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists in 44 minutes on the floor. He shot just 6 for 22 from the field and was a minus 21 on the evening. Leonard was horrible, but George was even worse, registering just 10 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists in 39 minutes. He struggled from the field, shooting 4 for 16, including 2 for 11 from three-point range, and was a minus 20 for the team on the night. But before we jump in, please remember that if you've enjoyed the video thus far and can't wait to see whether or not Pandemic P has earned the millions he's made in the NBA, then please remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons and make sure to tell your friends and family about the journey we are about to embark on. Both players were frankly terrible when their team needed them most, but unlike Leonard, George was subpar for the entire postseason. The Clippers envisioned George to be the perfect wing complement to Leonard after shipping off most of their future to bring him from the Oklahoma City Thunder, but George undelivered yet again during the most important time of the season. It has been an understandable trait for PG, but the 30-year-old has not translated his great regular season play into the postseason since his early days playing for the Indiana Pacers. With all that being said, one must wonder on whether George has truly earned the $217 million he's made so far in the NBA. Entering the league in 2010, George was drafted to an Indiana Pacers franchise that was looking for their next star. George had a great pedigree coming from 2 years at Fresno State and quickly displayed excellent tools on both ends that indicated he could grow into one of the great two-way players in the league. His upside was real, and a young George flourished with the Pacers within a team that boasted an abundance of veteran experience. George was surrounded by hard-nosed experts such as David West, Roy Hibbert, Danny Granger, Louis Scola, Lance Stevenson, and George Hill, and coached by defensive-minded Frank Vogel, which helped his development on the defensive. The Pacers put together deep playoff runs under Vogel, translating to the most successful period in franchise history since the Reggie Miller glory days. At the time, George was their best and most versatile player, who was emerging as a true star right before our eyes, challenging LeBron James and the Miami Heat in the playoffs. George has since gone on to become a 6-time All-Star and finished third in MVP voting in 2019 as the highlights of his career thus far. Despite putting together an admirable resume, in a lot of ways, George has stumbled in his upward trajectory since departing the Pacers. His playoff woes began after leaving Indiana and getting bounced out of the first round in 2019 by the Utah Jazz, led by dynamic guard Donovan Mitchell. With George coming off an MVP-caliber season and suiting up alongside triple-double machine Russell Westbrook and future Hall of Famer Carmelo Anthony, George was comprehensively outplayed by Jazz's wing Joe Ingles, and questions started to arise around George's ability to perform when it matters most. These questions have now grown louder after his shortcomings during this entire 2020 playoff run. George didn't just overwhelm, but he was truthfully horrible at times. Alarmingly, the most worrying aspect of George's postseason struggles seem to be mentally, as he has been outspoken on the mental demons he faced inside the bubble. "I underestimated mental health, honestly," George said via Zoom following Game 5. "I had anxiety, a little bit of depression. Just being locked in here, I just wasn't there. I checked out. Games 2, 3, 4, I felt like I wasn't there." Although George did get the mental support he needed during his time in the bubble, his track record in the playoffs has developed into a worrying pattern. His numbers when the stakes are high and his teams face must-win games is underwhelming, and this doesn't bode well for the Clippers moving forward. At this stage of his career, you can definitely make a case that George has underachieved given his overall talent in the league. Whether he's earned his $217 million is up for debate, but the greatest players in the world perform when the lights shine the brightest, and he has yet to do that up until this point.